Hey Jats! Hey everybody. I'm back. Hey. No stream yesterday. I did not know what to do for a stream yesterday, so I just simply didn't stream. But I did tell you that could happen. going to be finishing Escaping Peril today. Let's see if I can find the chapter we ended on. Yeah, that's the chapter we ended on. Have you been? Hope you've been well. I've been well. Sorta. I didn't sleep at all last night, so I slept, like, during the day. The reason I didn't sleep last night was because I fell into a rabbit hole of watching Dream SMP animatics again. And I stumbled upon Sadist's animatic of a fan fiction, and like it made me bawl, like legit cry so much. And of course I said to myself, you know what, I need to read the fan fiction as well. You know, that's a good idea. Yeah, I spent 5 hours crying while reading, and I'm still not done with it. So that's going to be what I'm using this night for. Because like it's 11 p.m. for me right now. I told you on Twitter it was going to be a late night stream. But yeah. Gosh. It is called, by the way, it's called Pazarin. Pazarin, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. But you can always look at Sadist's channel to find the animatic, and then find the link there if, you know, you want to cry your heart out. Like, why are people so talented? No story, no movie, no animatic has had that effect on me that I legit just cried and cried and cried. So yeah. And I haven't kept hydrating today, so whoops. I need to hydrate to get back the water that I lost from crying. Cheers! Yeah. Nice ice water. Oh! Ha! And just as I go live, tell me go live too. Tell me I'm in live too. So, I don't know how many people are going to be here. Well, yeah, we're going to be finishing it. It's the book today. It's just 3 chapters, the epilogue, and then a snippet of the next book, which is like 2 pages long, so I don't know, I think the epilogue was also like 2 pages long in this one. I think I checked that at one point. Oh boy. But I hope you're ready. Also, why is I just restarted my computer to like not have it be extremely slow and everything. And now it just, my like mouse, it just keeps you know that circle when it's like waiting for something? It keeps like appearing and then disappearing on my mouse, and I do not know why. Huh. You just say if the music is too loud or not loud enough. But I appreciate y'all being here. I hope in the future that I'll be able to actually do some gaming. Like, I really, really want to play Minecraft, but my computer is a laptop. That's all I have. And it cannot handle both playing that game and streaming at the same time. They can't even handle me trying to stream Little Nightmares, so. But I'll be trying to go back to Undertale again. We'll try and get the genocide route, like the true genocide route. I kind of screwed it up last time, so. Holy gosh darn, it is hot as hell in here. And it doesn't matter if I open my windows, because it's also hot as hell outside. You can't see it right now, but I am sweating like a hurricane, and I just showered. So. Anyway. Chapter 19. This doesn't feel like a normal Skywing party somehow, Peril said to Queen Ruby. And that's because it's missing all the fun, brutal murder parts, Queen Ruby explained. They were standing on the top level of the Great Hall, looking down at the mass of dancing, singing Skywings. Peril watched them hug and spin and clap wings with one another, and thought wistfully of the full moon festival, and how she might never get to dance with anyone in her entire lifetime. Even if she could ever talk Clay into it, she had a feeling he was the kind of dragon with 4 left talents. Yikes. I mean, Ruby went on, think about how Scarlet's parties usually went, or what they were for. Actually, you'll sleep better if you don't know, she added to Turtle. That was true. Peril shivered. Parties for executions, parties for thrillingly bloody arena days, parties for Scarlet's hatching day, or Burns visits that featured all kinds of dragon killing entertainment. The Sky Kingdom probably hadn't seen a party in 20 years that didn't revolve around Scarlet's gladiator fetish. But the Skywings were making up for it now. Somehow about 8 orchestras worth of percussion, and stringed instruments had materialized over the course of the day. Now that night had fallen and the storm had passed, music filled the halls of the palace, of a palace that had once reverberated only with the shrieks of burning dragons. Peril looked down at her claws. Your Majesty, I'm sorry about the eggs on the brightest night. Stop, Ruby said. She drew Cliff closer under her wing. He'd insisted on staying up till midnight, and he looked a lot more awake than Turtle, who kept yawning and leaning on things. Listen, you were only a dragonette, not much older than Cliff. And Scarlet was the only parent you ever had, or friend, or anything. None of the rest of us even tried to see you as a real dragon. I saw a weapon and that was it. But now, I think about what could happen to Cliff if he'd been born with fire scales, or if my mother had gotten her claws into him. I think a lot about how he'll turn out with me as his mother. So, I don't blame you anymore. Gosh, I do, Peril said. All the things I mean, if you just do the arena numbers plus the random dragons you disliked and all the burning, and then you think... Pearl, Turtle interrupted. This might be one of those instances where less details is the way to go. I know it was bad, Ruby said, but you can make up for what you've done. At least you can try, if we let you try. Oh, Peril said, you bet, of course I'll try. I just need a few more epic battles to the death that I can throw myself into. Point me on some more dragonettes in distress, or viper bites I can tackle. I'm also great at toasting squirrels and boiling water, anytime you need either of those. Ruby laughed, then glanced at her dragonette and looked serious at Glenn. This should be obvious to everyone who saw you save Cliff, she added. But just to make it official, you are no longer banished. You are welcome throughout the Sky Kingdom and anywhere Cliff and I go. If you want to move back to the palace, you can. said, oddly embarrassed. Thanks. I'll think about it. Is that it? Is that what being a hero feels like? Is this what Clay and Tsunami and Sunny feel like every day? I thought it'd be more different. I thought suddenly it would be easier to be good. I thought it would come naturally once I did enough good things. Or the right big good things. But I still feel just as muddled about what to do next. And I kind of still want to set that god over there on fire because I swear he's laughing at me. Not to mention, there are lots of wonderfully vengeful things I can do to Chameleon that keep parading through my brain. Speaking of Chameleon, Peril frowned down at the commotion on the level below them. Your Majesty, she said, isn't that one of the gods who was supposed to be keeping an eye on Soar? Queen Ruby didn't have to answer. The god was now swooping up toward them with a terribly alarmed expression. Your Majesty, she cried, landing next to the Queen. I don't know what happened. I know you said not to let any other dragon in or out, but suddenly there was a Nightwing there, a really big one, and he came from inside the room, and I don't know how he got in there. And he knocked out Harrier with his tail in one blow, and then he flew off, and the Skywing was gone. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. She flung herself into a deep, abject bow. On the other side of the Queen, Turtle sat up. All his sleepiness was gone. He looked much more worried and much less huddle-like than usual. Queen Ruby reached out and raised the god to standing. I'm not going to hurt you, she said. We didn't expect him to run, so it's my fault for not taking all precautions. Go make sure Harrier is alright. The god's face was all relieved from snout to horns as she bowed and flew away again. How worried should I be? Queen Ruby asked Peril. What do you know about that dragon? Peril had thought there would be more time. Time to tell the Queen everything. Time to make Chameleon feel safe here and figure out what to do with him and how to deal with that scroll. She hadn't thought he would bolt the first chance he got. Without saying goodbye. Without thinking about me at all, maybe. I know he's really a Rainwing, she confessed. He could use that scroll for anything, but so far he mostly only uses it for shape-shifting. I think because he could never change his scales when he was a Rainwing. I don't think he would do evil things with it on his own. That was just for Scarlet, but actually I don't really know him that well. He has a Nightwing shape, Turtle said. And he was working for Scarlet? Is he the one who hurt Kinkaju? Peril flinched. Why'd she let herself forget about her? Because he offered me everything I thought I wanted. Yes, she admitted. He hated Rainwings because they banished him from the rainforest. We can't let him wander around free with a weapon like that, Turtle said. I should have taken it from him right away, Queen Ruby said, shaking her head. I was trying to reward his cooperation. Alright, I'll send out a search party. She saw the anxious expression on Turtle's face and added, or 6 search parties. Don't worry. We'll find him. She spread her wings and flew down to the throne room with Cliff right behind her. We can't wait, Turtle said to Peril. We have to go after him right now. Yes, she said. But Turtle, one more thing you should know. He's my father. Wow, he said. You have had a bad luck with parents. But good luck with friends, she said, grinning at him. You big sap, he said, and I can't even punch you to shut you up. You could, she said. That would be pretty funny for me. He flicked his tail at her and lifted off, sailing through the open roof and into the star-speckled sky. Peril followed. Every moment that she got further away from that necklace, she felt more and more like herself again. No more troubling or guilty thoughts about Scarlet. Nothing but clear memories of Clay. Can I go back to Jade Mountain now? Have I done enough? The questions somehow felt less pressing than they had before. She still missed Clay very much, but she had important things to do, such as find her father, get that scroll into her talons that could be trusted, and maybe help Turtle and his friends stop some big new terrible prophecy if they'd have her. If he's a Nightwing, he'll blend right in up here, Turtle called to her, lashing his talons in frustration. One of the moons was almost full, but leftover clouds from the storm hid most of the moonlight from the mountain peaks. We need help. He angled south abruptly. Uh-oh, Peril said. Tell me we're not off to find a mind reader and a Nightwing who might be holding a grudge. I left them in that valley, Turtle said, pointing. They set the signal when I needed them. His scales began flashing, and Peril nearly flew into a cliff. She was so startled. She knew our sea wings had glow-in-the-dark scales, but she'd never seen a dragon use them at night before. Luminescent spirals and shapes like webbed talon prints lit up all along his wings. It was sort of beautiful in a weird, fishy way. Oh, the music's getting a bit loud. I love the soundtrack, don't get me wrong, but it's a bit loud now. Almost immediately, she saw an answering burst of twin flames from the dark valley below them. Soon after that, 3 shapes rose up to meet them. 2 of them pale and ghostly, one barely a flicker of shadow. You did it, Quibbly said as soon as they were close enough to talk. You actually rescued her? Not exactly, Peril said. But thanks very much for the skeptical tone, Turtle said. Is she safe to be around? Winter asked harshly. What do you think? He tilted his head at Moon. I am, Peril said. She thought mushrooms and mongooses at the Nightwing as loud as she could, and Moon started giggling. That seems like a good sign, said Quibbly, giving Moon a smile that reminded Peril of that Nightwing who always followed Queen Glory around. Guys, we don't have time for a prickly reunion, Turtle interrupted. Scarlet's ally has escaped, and it's worse than we thought. He's a shapeshifter, so he can look like a dragon from any tribe. And he's got this Animus Touch scroll that can enchant anything, as far as we can tell. Moon let out a yelp so loud it echoed off the mountains. A scroll? She cried. Really? You're sure? Yes, Turtle said. We saw it. Moon looked deeply agitated now. Peril regarded her with new interest. Was this Nightwing hiding something from all of them, even her alleged friends? What do you know about this scroll? Peril asked. Nothing, Moon said. Was it wrapped in black leather casing? Yes, Turtle said, staring at her. Maybe you should tell us the nothing you know about, Peril said. I heard a story once, Moon said, about a Nightwing scroll from long ago that was Animus Touch. It sounds like this could be the same scroll. She fidgeted anxiously, twitching her tail over her talons. That would be bad. We would really need to get it back. If it's the same scroll. That's what I know. I was hoping you could try listening for him, Turtle said. He escaped the palace not long ago, so he can't have gone far. He's in his Nightwing form, Peril added. The one where he calls himself Shapeshifter. Very subtle, said Quibbly. Shh, Moon said, closing her eyes. I don't think I could pick up anything from way up here. Let's fly along the river, Peril said. I have a feeling he's gone that way. He said something to me about becoming mudwings. Oh my gosh, I'm sweating. Why am I sweating so much? Good thing I'm not wearing makeup. She saw hesitation. Trying that again. She saw hesitation in their wing beats. Should we trust this dragon? Are we really going to follow her? But when she turned and swooped away, Turtle was right beside her, and the others weren't far behind. Going to the mudwings sounded like the next thing her father would do. He wouldn't become Cirrus again, now that Peril knew that shape. She guessed he wouldn't be comfortable underwater, even in a sea-wing form, and he'd have to worry about keeping the scroll dry. Going west to the Sandwings meant Queen Thorn, who already had a reputation as someone impossible to corrupt. And she couldn't imagine him returning to the rainforest, either as a Rainwing or a Nightwing. But the Mudwings were close, and Queen Moheen had once been Scarlet's ally. She might be willing to take in a strange dragon who offered mysterious power in exchange for treasure. Peril dove toward the Diamond Spray River, which glimmered like molten silver in the places where moonlight broke through. She remembered Clay swimming away down this river with his friends, heading home to the Mud Kingdom and away from her. The memory still made her chest ache. But at least I have that memory. Suddenly Moon banked right and stopped, hovering in place with her front talons pressed to her head. After a moment she lifted one of them and pointed. I think he's over there, she whispered. They slipped after her, gliding as quietly as they could. In a clearing by the river, fiddling with something in his talons, hulked a large black shape. He made himself enormous, Peril thought. The kind of scary Nightwing everyone has always whispered about. Quibbly flicked his wing to catch her eye, then pointed to each of them, conveying silent instructions. A moment later, they landed in a circle around Chameleon. Peril's talons were only an inch from his tail. Don't move, she said. That was the end of chapter 19. We are going to be hydrating real quick, because hydration is good, and I have been crying too much today because of a fucking fanfiction. You also remember to hydrate, okay? You better, or else I'm coming after you. Chapter 20. The Nightwing reared up, flaring his wings, and he was so big and unfamiliar and angry looking that Peril had a brief moment of fear that they'd cornered the wrong dragon. No, that's him all right, Moon said. I'm sure. Then Peril saw the pouch of shape-shifting jewelry at his feet, and the case that held the scroll around his chest. This was definitely him. Father, Peril shouted, stop! I I don't want to hurt you, but I will. And so will we, Winter hissed, the sound of frost breath gathering under his words. Chameleon froze, but Peril still had never seen such a look of fury and disgust on him before. That's Winter said to Quibbly and Turtle. That's a dragon who attacked us and wounded Kinkajou. Turtle growled softly in his throat, and Quibbly raised his venomous tail, digging his claws into the muddy river bank. But that's impossible, Moon said. We hit him with my fire and your frost breath. This dragon has no scars, no injuries, nothing. It's the enchantment, Quibbly guessed. It probably starts the shave off new and uninjured every time. He just has to take it off and all the wounds disappear. Then when he puts it back on, the scroll makes him a Nightwing per the instructions all over again. No lasting damage, ever. That's useful, said Peril. She remembered how Ruby's injuries had disappeared when she turned back into Tourmaline. Is that right? Chameleon breathed a small spire of smoke, then nodded. She wished she would say something, instead of just glaring at them all. At all of them. At her especially. With those narrow black eyes. Listen, she said. We just want the scroll. No, he spat, spikes bristling all along his back. Actually, I want the scroll and justice, Winter said. I think he should pay for what he did to Kinkajou. Me too, said Turtle. Me too, said Moon, but the scroll is the most important thing. And I think taking it from him will be punishment enough, said Peril. Winter snorted disbelievingly, and she ignored him. I'm sorry, Father, but you can't keep it. Not after what you've done with it. We can't trust you. Someone's just come home. And is revving the engine of their car. Pretty sure it's my older sister. I won't do anything terrible, he said. I was only following Scarlet's orders. You know all about that. Okay, stop revving that engine, alright? Damn. Jeez. You weren't following her orders when you hit Kinkajou in the hospital, Quibbly observed. That was all you. And you could have chosen me over her once you knew we were family. Peril said, you didn't have to betray me by taking away my memories. You could also have stayed and been loyal to Queen Ruby, but it's clear you're not planning on that. You've had choices, and we haven't seen you make any good ones yet. But this is an easy one, Moon said. Give us a scroll, and we let you go. Or don't give us the scroll, said Quibbly, and get another face full of flames and frost breath. Wow, try saying that 5 times fast. You'll still have your treasure, Peril said, and she would leave him the scraps of scroll he already had enchanted with his different shapes. He could still be Soar and Shapeshifter and Cirrus and whoever else when he didn't want to be Chameleon. She knew what it was like to wish for different scales, and she knew how much he needed them as a rainwing with no scale-shifting powers. You'll keep having your great life wherever you decide to go. You just won't be able to hurt anyone else. Winter hissed again. But it's mine, Chameleon said, clutching the metal sheath to his chest. I found it. I get to keep it. Why should you have it? What makes you all better than me? Peril didn't know the answer to that question. Was she any better than her father? Did she know these other dragonettes well enough to say that they were? What would they do with power like that? But she knew one thing. She couldn't leave it with Chameleon. Give it to us, she said. Please don't make us fight you for it. Or do, said Winter. I'm ready. You think you can hurt me? Chameleon snarled. But I've made some modifications to this shape since we last met, Icewing. Shapeshifter already had strength beyond any dragon, but now I also have scales that cannot be harmed, and flames as hot as my daughter's scales. I foresee a pretty horrible death ahead for most of you. Peril felt sick. Why hadn't she seen this dangerous, power-hungry side of him before? She didn't want anything bad to happen to Turtle. She was pretty sure she'd even been able to muster some sadness for whatever happened to Winter. But father, she started. What's happening? Chameleon suddenly shouted. He scrabbled at his chest. How are you doing that? Stop! It's mine! Peril stepped back in astonishment as the sheath unbuckled itself and started to wriggle free of the hulking Nightwing's talons. Chameleon held onto it desperately. No! He roared. You can't take it! The metal sheath hesitated, poised in the air as if it were trying to launch itself out of Chameleon's claws, and then it pivoted abruptly and bashed him in the face. Chameleon yowled in pain, let go of the scroll, and fell back, covering his snout with his talons. Blood was running from one of his eyes. The sheath bashed him in the face once more, with what looked like the force of a mountain behind it. Chameleon shrieked, and Peril guessed that... Oh my gosh. My eyes suddenly got really blurry. I don't know why. Chameleon shrieked, and Peril guessed that several of the bones in his snout were broken. That's enough! She cried. She knew that soon he'd recover from the shock and gather the strength to take off his Nightwing shape, and he'd be healed instantly. But it was still beyond horrible to see him suffering like that. No matter what he'd done, she believed there was a part of him that had wanted to help her, that had wanted to be a family. For a moment, the sheath hovered in the air, as if considering whether to listen to her, and then it spun slowly and floated over to land in Turtle's talons. Turtle, of course. Let's go, he said. They all spread their wings and lifted off at once. Peril swerved to make sure she stayed clear of the others. That scroll is mine! Chameleon screamed as they flew into the dark clouds. I'll find you! I'll take it back! You'll be sorry! It's mine! It's mine! It's mine! Peril glanced back at Turtle's determined jawline and then right at Moon's nervously twisting talons. Now that they had the most dangerous scroll in all of Pyria, what were they going to do with it? They flew south for a long time before it felt safe enough to stop. Peril kept imagining she could hear Shapeshifter's ominous wing beats following them. But soon they came to a part of the mountains that was jagged with canyons and steep ravines. And at the bottom of one of these, they found a cave deep enough to crawl into and set a fire without anyone seeing them from above. Moon caught some kind of mountain cat for them to eat, and they huddled against the stone walls, listening to the rain that had started again outside. Peril ate her portion of the famished rush, keeping herself on the far side of the fire from the others. Even if Turtle still had his ridiculous healing rock, she imagined it wouldn't go over well if she burned him again. If she burned any of them again. Turtle put the scroll carefully on top of the ledge at the back of the cave. Everyone kept looking at it, although Peril thought the moon had the most interesting range of expressions about it. What did that one mean? And that one? What was she thinking? You didn't have to do that, Turtle, Moon said finally, breaking the silence. You shouldn't use your animus powers if you can help it. Maybe you shouldn't use it ever. Aren't you worried about your soul? How do you feel? A little cold, he said with a shrug, but only the tiniest bit evil. I'm serious, she protested as Quibbly laughed. I read about what happened with Albatross. My murderous ancestor, I know, Turtle said, but my enchantments have been so small, and I feel exactly the same as I always have. I think I'll notice if I start turning homicidal. Moon did not look in the least bit reassured. It's alright to use your animus magic if you're careful about it, Winter said. In the Ice Kingdom, our animus dragons used to spend their lives planning one enchantment that would benefit the whole tribe. They used their magic once for something beautiful and useful, and they were all fine the rest of their lives. Huh, Quibbly said. I thought I heard something about an animus Icewind Queen who went crazy once, a long time ago. Oh, Winter said, shifting on his tones. Maybe, but she used her magic more than she was supposed to. If it's the Queen, I'm guessing it was anyway. What do we do with the scroll now? Peril asked. Should we take it back to Jade Mountain and give it to Clay? And the others? She added hurriedly. Maybe, Turtle said, but I'm not sure anyone should have this much power, no matter how good we think they are. It can't be good for your soul. I think a very wise and good dragon would know how to use it the right way, Quibbly objected. I think we should give it to Queen Thorn. Maybe we should give it to Queen Glacier, Winter snapped. We shouldn't give it to anyone, Moon said. It already belongs to someone. The fire crackled in the silence that fell, devouring the scraps of wood they had found to burn. Everyone was watching Moon now, and Peril wondered what she could hear in their minds. What do you mean? Winter asked finally, just as Quibbly said, Who? The animus dragon who made it, Moon said. He put all his power into that scroll so that he could use his magic without damaging his soul. Which is pretty smart, right? He was trying to protect the world from whatever he might become. Or give himself unlimited power, Winter observed. But doesn't it seem like a good idea? Moon asked. If his magic doesn't turn him evil, he'll only do good things with it, right? Doesn't? Quibbly echoed. Moon, I thought you said this was some ancient legend. So, why are you using the present tense? Because, she started, then hesitated and started again. Because he's still alive. Who? Winter said, rising to his feet. And he's trapped, she said, her voice suddenly spilling out like smoke. I started hearing his voice in my head when I got to Jade Mountain. He's stuck underground somewhere and he's starving and alone and he just wants to get out, and the scroll is the one thing that could help him do that. And so I said I'd look for it. And give it back to him? Turtle said, then answered himself. Actually, I guess that's fair. It is his magic after all. Moon, Winter growled, his voice low and ominous. Who is he? Well, she said, first, I want you to remember that everything you know about him is 2,000 years old and comes from stories told by the dragons who defeated him. You don't really know him, even if you think you do. Darkstalker! Winter roared. Are you serious? Hey, there's no need to yell, Quibbly said, standing up as well. If this Darkstalker is trapped and starving and alone, that is exactly what he deserves. Oh, sorry, that was not Quibbly. If the Darkstalker is trapped and starving and alone, that is exactly what he deserves, Winter said. Oh, really? Moon countered. What about the misunderstood Nightwing that you set free? Was she a legendary evil? Wasn't she a legendary enemy of the Icewings too? Yes, but she didn't have horrible powers, Winter said. Moon's wings flew up, and then she rose onto her back legs, growling. Horrible powers? You mean mind reading and visions of the future? You mean my horrible powers? And Winter trailed off, glancing at Turtle. And my horrible power, Turtle finished. Well, Peril said, flexing her talons, at least he doesn't have mine. He killed his own father, Winter said, rallying to his argument again. Our Icewing Prince. Isn't your whole tribe terrified of him? Yes, Moon admitted, but they don't know him either. And you do? Quigley asked. The question hung in the air, and Peril noticed for the first time the intensity in Quigley's eyes as he looked at Moon. She couldn't interpret it exactly, but she got the feeling there were several layers to the question he was asking. Layers of like, if he's so important to you, why didn't you tell us about him before? And one she especially recognized, do you like him better than me? Moon looked away first. Maybe, she said. I think so. I don't know. I can't let you use the scroll to free the Darkstalker, Winter said. What you can't do is order me around, Moon said sharply. What you can do instead is have a rational conversation with me and listen to me and try to talk me out of it if you must. But not right now, Turtle said. Right now we should all sleep, and then we can talk about it in the morning. All right? I agree, Quigley said. Fine, said Moon. Fine, said Winter. Peril found herself wondering again if friends might be more trouble than they were worth. She was quite glad she was not snarled up in this fight. I'll sleep outside, she offered, standing up. In the rain? Turtle asked. It won't bother me, Peril said. And I've been told I'm a restless sleeper. Oh, Turtle said, eyeing her wings nervously. In that case, sure, absolutely, you bet. Great plan. Peril shot him a grin as she went out of the cave into the rain. There was a somewhat sheltered spot at the base of the cliff, and she huddled there, thinking about the scroll and the argument and whatever this Darkstalker was, until she finally fell asleep. And for the first time in years, her dreams were peaceful. No furious Queen Scarlet chased her through winding hallways with too many doors. Nobody burned between her talons. There was no fire, no smoke, no death or screaming. Just long, quiet, dreamless slumber. Peril! She was awoken by someone poking her gently in the shoulder, followed by Turtle yelling, "Ah!" and leaping backwards as the stick he poked her with burst into flames. Peril yawned. Peril stretched, yawning. Well, what do you think was going to happen? She asked, and then she noticed two serious faces lined up behind Turtle. Uh-oh, she said. Moon's gone, said Turtle, and she's taken the scroll with her. End of chapter 20. Only one chapter to go, then a epilogue, and then a snippet of the next book. Hydrate! Oh boy, Moon. Girl, really? Chapter 21. The world after the storm was dazzling. Sunbeams glinted off all the new puddles, and the sky felt as though it had just taken a dive in the lake. It seemed as if more dragons were out flying than Peril had seen in ages. Everyone wanted to spread their wings in the beautiful air. She saw a lot of skywings, especially, and realized guiltily that they should have let Queen Ruby know the scroll was safe. Except, apparently, that it wasn't very safe after all. She wouldn't, Winter fretted as they flew south. She wouldn't! Quibbly was silent for once, deep in thought. Turtle said, maybe she... I thought we were going to talk about that! Winter yelled. Maybe she didn't think you'd be a good listener, Peril suggested. I mean, I haven't known you for very long, and even I can already see that. I listen, Winter growled, when there's something worth hearing. Yeah, I don't think that's the same thing, Peril said, shaking her head. You can fly faster than us, Quibbly said suddenly. He twisted himself in the air so he could look at Peril. You can fly faster than her. Maybe you can catch her. Oh yes, Peril said. Probably. You guys are slowpokes. It's like flying with a trio of banana slugs. So go, Turtle said wildly. Fly as fast as you can. Stop her before she sets them free. Alright, Peril said. Except, how do I do that? Just tell her what a bad idea it is, Winter said. Okay. So, stop her with words. Well, right. Don't set her on fire, Turtle said. Let's be clear about that. Are you sure? Peril said. It would be very different. Oh. Are you sure? Peril said. It would be very efficient. I bet it would stop her right away. Just a tiny bit of her tail. I'm kidding! She hadn't exactly been kidding, but she could tell from the expressions on their faces that she'd better act as though she was. Not that she wanted to use her fire scales on Moon, but if the alternative was some big ancient nightmare dragon rising from the earth, then shouldn't all the options be open? Quibbly looked close to panic though, and Winter was giving her the most suspicious, untrusting face, and even Turtle looked worried about this plan, so no. The answer was evidently let the nightmare dragon escape rather than harming even one of Moon's scales. If she insists on doing it, tell her at least to wait for us, Quibbly pleaded. Tell her she shouldn't release him alone. Alright, Peril said, flicking her wings to rise in a higher updraft. I'll try. But I suspect I might be exactly the wrong dragon for this particular mission. She'll be close to Jade Mountain somewhere, Quibbly called after her. He must be buried near there if that's where she could hear him. Got it, Peril called back. She was surprised when she hadn't caught up with Moon by midday. Either the Nightwing had a much bigger head start than Peril had guessed, or she flew a lot faster than Peril would have expected. Peril stopped only once to drink from a mountain lake and spent the rest of the day flying as fast as she could. She was exhausted when the first stars of the evening began to emerge, and she saw Jade Mountain starting to fill the sky ahead of her. Clay is there, she thought with a thrill of excitement. I can see him tonight. I can tell him everything that's happened. But first, she had to stop Moon. Peril slowed down as she got closer to Jade Mountain. She began to scan the peaks around her with her eagle-sharp eyes, looking for unusual movements. Once she swooped down, only to discover an extremely startled moose. The second time, she nearly got a snout full of porcupine quills. But on her third try, she found the dragon she was looking for. Moon wasn't exactly hiding. She was sitting on a grassy slope on the western side of the mountain, not far from Jade Mountain. The sunset cast golden rays over her huddled form, and her shadow sloped like a long second tail up the hills behind her. Peril looped around overhead, studying the ground around Moon until she spotted a boulder where she could land safely. It wobbled slightly as she thumped down, threatening to tumble into a narrow ravine nearby, but she steadied it with her claws. The Nightwing didn't look up. She was curled over the scroll, reading it so intently that her claws were crushing the binding where she held it. Said Peril. So, hello, I've been instructed not to set you on fire, in case you were worried, she added hastily. Moon raised her head, and Peril realized that her eyes were full of tears. In fact, her whole face was full of tears. She looked as if she'd been crying for a while. Yikes, Peril said. I'd offer you a hug, but I just wanted to hear him again, Moon said. I wanted to tell him we found it, to talk to him and remember why I trusted him. But then I started reading, and he clearly didn't want me to, and I found this. She trailed off, touching the scroll with one mournful claw. Peril tilted her head at the paper. Oh my god, my eyes are so blurry. Peril tilted her head at the paper. She could see that Moon was on the page where the writing stopped, and the rest of the scroll was blank. But she couldn't read the letters from where she was, and she didn't dare get any closer. What does it say? Peril asked. When Moon stared into space, instead of answering, she added, Hey, I'm not a mind reader. Different horrible powers over here, remember? Stop talking, Moon said sharply, making Peril jump. Oh, not you, she said to Peril. Him. He's talking to you right now, Peril said. That's creepy. He has trouble reading your mind too, Moon said. Although he agrees it's a lot less Inferno-esque than it was before you went to the Sky Palace. Yay? A dragon's not a thing, Moon suddenly exploded, talking to the air again. You shouldn't be able to enchant someone like that. It's wrong. Don't you? No, stop. It doesn't matter how bad he was. This... She jabbed the scroll so hard it ripped a little. This is the cruelest thing I've ever read. Okay, you really have to tell me now. Peril was itching with curiosity. Okay. Oh, sorry. I accidentally started reading again. That's line again. I am, Moon said. I am going to tell her. When you do something this terrible, you kind of cancel out the privacy rights. Any privacy rights. She turned to Peril. Remember how Winter said that Darkstalker killed his father, Prince Arctic? Yeah, Peril said. That confused me a bit. Why was his dad an Icewing? Long story, not important, Moon said. I mean, except to the Icewings. Anyway, the other rumor I'd heard about Darkstalker was that he did something so awful that it terrified the entire Nightwing tribe into abandoning their city and going into hiding, so that he would never find them again if he ever came back. They thought he was gone, maybe dead, but they still uprooted the entire tribe to hide from him, just in case. Sheesh! And I thought my tribe hated me. Peril tried to choke. She was starting to get a creepy, crawly feeling under her scales. This menacing dragon was buried alive somewhere, right below their talons. Well, Moon said, now I know what it was. Yes, I do. I'm sure. If I saw a dragon do this, I'd go into hiding too. Yes, Peril said impatiently. Moon dropped her voice. He used his magic on his father. He enchanted him, as if Prince Arctic was no more than a necklace or a rug or a piece of cheese. Oh, Peril said, momentarily distracted by the idea of an enchanted piece of cheese. The spell is right there, Moon said. She spread her front talons on the scroll, starting to cry again. Enchant Arctic, the Icewing, to obey my every command. That's it. It's that simple. What did you make him do? She demanded. You made him kill himself, didn't you? Just gonna delete that one. Whoa, Peril said. Is that possible? That could happen? Could Turtle do that? Moon gave a furious shake of her head. There was a long pause and then she yelped. Disemboweled? Did you seriously just say disemboweled? Who disemboweled who? Peril asked. Oh, gross! Did Arctic disembowel himself? That is much worse than anything that happened in the arena. Oh my goodness, Scarlet would have loved to get a self-disemboweling dragon in her arena. She's dead, by the way, did I mention that? But Moon was lying down on top of the scroll now, pressing her talons over her ears with her eyes closed. Peril wondered if she should try to get Moon away from Darkstalker's voice. But she couldn't think of a way to do that without either touching her or throwing rocks at her to get her attention. Which seemed a little heartless considering what Moon was going through. So she decided to watch over her and wait for the others. Had seemed like the sensible plan of action. She glanced around, found a tree that was growing at an angle out of a ravine, and lit its branches on fire. That should help Turtle, Quibbly, and Winter find them. It felt like hours of Moon not moving, and Peril sitting there watching her not move. But at last, Peril heard wing beats, and she turned to see the other 3 dragonettes straggling up, looking much the worse for wear after flying all day. Turtle, in particular, looked like the world's unhappiest squashed frog. There she is, he gasped. Moon! Quibbly and Winter cried at the same time. Hello to you too, Peril said. The 2 of them landed and ran over to Moon, but Turtle came over to Peril's shoulder first. What happened? He asked. Has she... No, she hasn't freed him, Peril said. I don't think she's going to. She's had some bad news, though, so don't be a phlegm-snorting rat breath at her, she yelled over to Winter. Quibbly crouched beside Moon, covering her gently with one of his wings. Tell us what happened, he said. Is he talking to you right now? Yes, and he won't shut up, she said, sitting up and wiping away her tears. Winter, you were right. We can't free him. She passed the scroll to Winter, who let out an almost imperceptible sigh of relief. Quibbly breathed out a small flame so they could both read it. Whoa, Quibbly said after a moment. We absolutely can't free him if he can control other dragons that way, that easily, Moon said. And we can't free him if he's the kind of dragon who thought of doing it in the first place. She listened for a moment. He says he promises not to do it again. Darkstalker, how can we trust you? No one could ever stop you with a power like that. No, stop! I don't want to see another fairy tale vision. I have my own visions. Thank you very much. Winter let his wings drift slowly down, as though they were heavy weights he could finally drop. So, what do we do with it? Quibbly asked, taking the scroll from Winter's claws. He brushed one talon lightly across the blank space. I was thinking about it today while we flew. We could do a lot of good with this. We could use it to protect our queens. I could enchant something so that Thorn will never die, or make her palace immune to attack. Moon, think about it. We could enchant something to make all the Nightwings love glory. You know how many of them hate her. Probably better than anyone because you've seen into their minds. But imagine if they all loved her instead. What if she could rule without the threat of assassination hanging over her? She wouldn't want that, Moon said. She wouldn't want enchanted obedience or fake love. How about fireproof scales at least? Quibbly said. Ooh! Peril thought. We could give all my friends fireproof scales. Which I guess means turtle. Turtle could be fireproof and safe from me too! Quibbly went on, holding the scroll closer. Something that could warn glory before someone tries to kill her. Wouldn't that be a good idea? And then you wouldn't have to use your powers to help her. You could do whatever you want with them. Moon put her talons in her head. He really doesn't love this conversation. If we're in the business of protecting queens with magic, Winter growled, we should include Queen Glacier. She's a good queen too. What about my mom? Turtle interjected. Or Queen Ruby for Peril. But if we enchant all the queens to never die or be magically protected or whatever, Peril said, then won't we end up stuck with the same queens forever? Wouldn't that be bad too? Not in case of Queen Thorn, Quibbly said stubbornly. Look, the three of you have these crazy gifts, and you're figuring out how to use them safely, aren't you? Shush! Shush! Moon whispered, closing her eyes. I've been fine without you. Quibbly paused with a puzzled expression. Not you, Peril explained, the crazy dragon in her head. So if I can trust you with your powers, Quibbly said, couldn't you trust me to take care of this one? To think carefully about what the consequences and only use it for good? You, Winter snarled, by yourself? We just let you saunter off with the most powerful talisman in the world? Why should you get it instead of me? Maybe I should take care of it. Maybe all of us together, Turtle suggested, but no one was listening anymore. You flew off and abandoned us impossibility, Quibbly shouted at Winter. You were really mean to Moon, and you haven't even apologized. Winter opened and closed his mouth, looking at Moon with an oddly heartbroken expression. So how could we trust you? Quibbly demanded. At least I'm a prince and I have some experience making decisions to help my tribe, Winter shouted. Oh, awesome logic, Quibbly shouted back. You're royalty, so you've always had power, so you should get to keep any new power that comes along. Stop fighting, Moon cried, covering her ears again. All of you. Darkstalker, stop yelling at me. Quibbly and Winter were too busy roaring at each other to hear her. Turtle was curled in the ball below. Peril's boulder with his wings around him, looking indecisive and worried. Fighting over power, Peril thought. Like every other dragon. Like every dragon ever. But it's not their power, it's Darkstalkers, and they want to use it. The same way Scarlet used mine. But that squall's too dangerous to be in this world, even if a good dragon controlled it. Even if it didn't change that good dragon to have that much power, even if we could somehow guarantee that it would never fall into evil talons, it shouldn't exist. Look how good dragons are fighting over it already. Nobody should be the boss of someone else's magic, and nobody else should ever be hurt by that scroll. Oh crap. I know what she's going to do, and I don't like it. Peril sailed to the edge of the boulder, hopped down onto the grass, hurried through the scorched path she'd made toward the fighting dragons, and paused right behind Quickly. The Sandwing didn't notice her. He swept his talons wide, shouting something at Winter about being careful. And Peril reached out and lifted the scroll right out of his claws. There was a heartbeat of silence as Peril flew back onto her boulder. She sat down and held out her talons, and the other dragons turned around, and they all watched the scroll burn into tiny black ashes. As the last piece of scroll flickered out of existence, Peril brushed the ashes off her scales. "There," she said. "That solves that problem. Now nothing can set Darkstalker free, and no one can abuse his power." She looked down and saw Turtle smiling up at her. Moon's expression was all relief as well, so despite the shock on Winter and Quickly's faces, Peril felt a sudden clear bolt of that was the right thing to do. For once she was sure, and not because someone else was telling her what the right thing was, but because she could feel it in her own bones. "I did it! I saved the world, and Clay wasn't even watching. Even if he never knows it, I'll still know I did the right thing." She lifted her head to the rising moon, taking a deep, tranquil breath. Wait, why was the moon wobbling? It wasn't the moon. It was the ground. The ground was shaking harder and harder, an earthquake trembling through the veins of the mountains. Peril's boulder toppled into the ravine, and she had to leap into the air, pounding her wings to get as far away from the shuddering hillside as possible. The other dragons threw themselves aloft too. "What's happening?" Turtle yelled. "Is Jade Mountain falling? Is this the prophecy?" Peril twisted in the air to look toward the academy. "Clay!" But Jade Mountain wasn't moving. Only this mountain was. And in fact, it was doing more than shaking and dropping giant rocks everywhere. It was splitting apart. An enormous crack appeared in the earth, and out of the darkness rose the hugest dragon the world had ever seen. Silver scales glittered in the corners of his eyes and along the underside of his black wings. His bones were visible under his skin. He was long and frightfully thin, with a narrow, handsome face, long twisted horns, and eyes as black as underground caverns. Darkstalker stretched his wings out to their fullest reach, as wide as the mountain itself. He swiveled his neck, expanding in every direction, like a dragon who hadn't been able to turn or stretch or move in 2,000 years. And then he smiled down at Peril, a smile that was all teeth somehow menacing and charming at the same time. "Ah, that's infinitely better," he said. "Nice to finally meet you, Peril. Thank you so much for your help." End of chapter 21. Now we only have the epilogue, which is like just over a bit of a page actually, and then the snippet of the next book, which is a bit longer. But first, hydration! Yeah! So burning the scroll, where all his he had enchanted to take all his animus powers. By burning that scroll, the power would be released and be flowing back to Darkstalker, which is why he was able to wake up from the enchanted slumber he'd been in for 2,000 years. So yeah. Everyone thought she was doing the right thing. But she unknowingly did the one thing he needed to be released. Yeah. Epilogue! Epilogue time! Epilogue. Starflight was working late in the library. Or was it early? He wasn't sure how long he'd been in there, since he no longer needed light to work. But he thought the sun was not yet up when he heard tiny footsteps coming into the room. "Hello?" he said. He tried to run through all the students in his head. Small talon steps, light but not kinkajou, with an extra flap sound when they hit the floor. Sea-wing talons. "Anemone?" he guessed. "Yes, it's me," said the little sea-wing princess. "What are you doing awake?" he asked. "I had a nightmare," she said, "and then something woke me. Didn't you feel it?" "Feel what?" He heard her cross to the wall of windows. It sounded as if she put one talon in the translucent leaves and stood for a moment quietly without speaking. "Something that shook the earth," she said at last, so softly that he wondered if he would have been able to hear her before when he could see. "I didn't notice anything," he said. A small sound, Anemone's wings shivering together. "It felt," she said, "like something slithered over my grave." End of the epilogue. So I'm thinking here is because she noticed, because she's an animus dragon and she's a descendant, well, not technically a descendant, but she is in family with the animus dragon who put Darkstalker into this slumber, into this sleep 2,000 years ago. So she was connected like that. And because Darkstalker rose from the slumber, she noticed, because of her powers, her connection. At least that's what I'm thinking. Now we are getting a snippet of the next book, book 9, which is called Talents of Power, and it is from Turtle's point of view. 2, 3 pages. Turtle crouched lower, pressing his underbelly into the ground, and shook his head at them. "Let's hunt now, as Darkstalker suggests," Quibbly said, nudging Moon, "and figure out what to do next after that." He shot a significant glance at Turtle. Oh no. That glance had a meaning, a message. Quibbly was expecting Turtle to do something, and Turtle had a bad feeling that something wasn't Turtle flying all the way back to the Kingdom of Sea, finding a deep trench and staying there forever. A queasy, tense feeling started bubbling through Turtle's stomach. Good idea, said Winter. Moon nodded, and then she gave Turtle a meaningful look too. By all the moons! What do they think he was going to do? Attack Darkstalker like Peril had? Obviously that wouldn't work, and if Peril couldn't hurt her, Turtle certainly wouldn't be able to. They didn't want him to hide them. Did they want him to hide them as well? He winced. He should have thought of that sooner. A good friend, a better dragon, a hero would have thought to protect everyone instead of just hiding himself. But they wanted to talk to Darkstalker, didn't they? I just wanted to hide. That's what I always do. As the dragons flew away, veering southwest, Quibbly twisted in a spiral, looking at Turtle again, and flicked his tail in the direction of Jade Mountain. Oh, Turtle realized. They want me to go to the school. I can probably do that without messing it up, I think. Oh, poor Turtle. For a moment, Peril hovered mutinously in the sky behind them, and then she swooped down to Turtle. Aren't you coming too? She asked. Don't we all have to follow his grand mighty lordship Sinisterface? Turtle shook his head and held out the stick. He can't see me, he whispered. I hid myself from him. Peril's face lit up. Of course, she said. That's awesome! You have animus magic! You can kill him! Oh, said Turtle flustered. No, I don't really kill anyone. A brief flash of scales and blood darted through his mind, and when he jumped down, he saw his claws curling dangerously. I think he's like seeing what his ancestor, what was his name? Albatross, did when he went like insane because he used his animus magic too much. He went insane and killed almost the entirety of his family in cold blood because he'd used his magic too much and thus lost his soul. I think that's what he's seeing. Maybe. I don't know. It's just all theory. Guessing. I'll keep reading. He jumped and shook them out until they looked like his own talons again. That's not my thing, he said, tamping down a wave of panic. Tamping down a wave of panic. I know, it's my thing, Peril said. But I can't kill him because of his stupid magic. So, you have to. Don't worry, it's not that hard, and it would be such a relief. For me, I mean, because I'm having this feeling, I don't know what to call it, but it's kind of a big and heavy annoying, and it's filling me up, and it's filling me all up inside, like everything is awful, and it's all my fault. Like, maybe all the bad things in the world are my fault. I really don't like it. So, if you could make it stop, that would be the greatest. I think what you're describing is what we call guilt, said Turtle. But it's not your fault he tricked us. I still think you did the right thing, burning the scroll. Well, thanks. But the universe disagrees with you, Peril said, jerking her head at the enormous crack in the side of the mountain. Peril, called one of the dragons in the distance. Good luck, Peril whispered. Make it something really cool, like his insides exploding. Or his fist falling off. I'm kidding! I'm a little bit kidding. I mean, insides exploding would be pretty cool, right? Never mind, it's up to you. Destroy him and save the world. 3 moons, I wish I could do it. She took off and flashed away, fast as a firework. Turtle shivered. Save the world? That's not my thing either. I would definitely mess it up. That's way too much pressure. I'm clearly not a hero. He raised his eyes to the shadowy peaks of Jade Mountain. But I know where I can find some. That was the end of the snippet of the next book. We finally finished Escaping Peril after so fucking long. And I'm so excited to start the next book. We'll be starting that Friday. I do not know if I will be streaming tomorrow. I might be. Just some drawing. Just drawing, you know? But I started drawing an axolotl today because why not? I've never drawn those animals before, ever. So I only have like rough line art right now, but maybe I could do that tomorrow. I don't know, but we'll see. But until then, I had a blast reading to you guys. Finally, back at it again. Thank you all so much for coming. Remember to leave a follow if you haven't already. I am trying and, watch my streams when I stream because I'm trying to reach affiliate, and right now I only need like people to watch my streams when I stream. So yeah, that would be amazing if you could like share my stream around to people are interested in listening to people read and stuff like that. That would be pretty cool. I don't know if anyone's live right now that I know. Nope. Doesn't seem that way. So, I'm not sending you anywhere. You can just skedaddle. And go support other creators, other streamers, tiny or big, doesn't really matter. Well, remember to help small streamers build a good community. I realized I have not been on my reading. Oh my god, I have not been on my reading scene today. Oh my god. Ah! Welp. And for those of you who don't know, this is my reading stream. This is like a cover of Escaping Peril. Like the entire cover art. I'll be putting Talents of Power for Friday when we were reading that book. I forgot to change to this, and I'm so mad at myself now. Well, I'll remember it to next time, okay? And gosh, I'm sweating so much. It is so hot. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna send you off now. Remember to hydrate. Do not dehydrate. If you do, I will come after you. Remember to treat others the way you want them to treat you. Just be kind overall. It's really not that hard. Karens. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next stream, which will either be tomorrow or on Friday. We'll still see. So yeah, bye-bye.